In our fallen state, it's tricky to follow the golden rule. How are we to avoid doing harm while believing that we are doing good?
What do we believe about what's going on in our falling state? I think sometimes our tendency is to say, well, we can't do any good. That it's just like, oh, you're just completely depraved. You're completely just hopeless. I don't think that's actually the perspective of Scripture. I think certainly Scripture diagnoses that capacity, that we have capacity for extreme evil, extreme brokenness. But I think more what Scripture gives us is this idea that, like Alexander Solzhenitsyn said in his writings, that the line between good and evil runs through the heart of all of us. But then on top of that, I would actually say that when Jesus comes, something new changed in the equation. Because it is true that, like, apart from Jesus, we can't do this. But what Jesus offers us is not a sort of a resolve to say, well, I'm never going to get this. What Jesus offers us is what the prophets longed for, which was to write the law on our hearts. And this happens as we confess Jesus as Lord, as the Spirit resides in us, we are slowly transformed. Now, how can you avoid harm? I don't think there's one easy thing to say to that. I think you're gonna mess up. It's just part of what happens. I love this analogy of like an apprentice, right? Like I think of like your husband, Jim. He builds decks and fences, right, Jim? Let's see that hand.
He's in the
right?
nursery now, yeah.
I'm sure when he gets that fresh newbie that they make mistakes. Is that
Absolutely, yep.
I think we're gonna make mistakes too. But I think that part of that is that discipleship is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong obedience in the same direction. And as we allow ourselves daily by daily to put new practices and allow the Spirit to transform us, we grow.
Okay.
We grow. We become people, wise saints that are able to love well.